The girl is only 17 years old but has a fierce passion for mysterious murders. While the entire police department misidentified the killer, she only spent 3 days investigating to clear the young man's name and send the real perpetrator to prison. The girl is named Pip. She can be seen sitting in a messy room, turning her investigative notes into a complete true crime podcast. After hitting the upload button, this also marks the return of Pip's life to peace. However, just as she thought everything was over, a new trouble quietly approaches. She and her friends dress up to attend a vintage murder mystery role-playing party. Watching everyone talking and laughing at the party, Pip once thought she could finally withdraw from the bodies, the lies, and the interrogations. But reality deals her a stunning blow. That day, Pip's father brings home bad news. An incident has occurred at Max's trial. Max is a wealthy and powerful villain from a massive family background, carrying many disgusting assault charges on his back. But on the very night before the trial opens, the most important victim, Becca, suddenly loses her nerve and withdraws all accusations. I received a call from my colleague Becca. She wanted me to let you know. To prevent justice from being buried, Pip immediately requests permission for a prison visit. In the dimly lit interrogation room, Pip meets Becca again, who is serving time for manslaughter. The two used to be sworn enemies. Becca even once plotted to murder Pip and cruelly killed her pet dog. At this moment, looking at Becca's haggard face, Pip tries to suppress the flames of anger in her heart. Becca cries miserably, repenting for what she has done, while Pip tries to hold back her sorrow because she is not here to hear an apology. What do you want to be convinced to testify in court against Max on Monday? Under Pip's unwavering gaze, Becca finally regains her courage and agrees to appear in court. But Pip has underestimated the devil's tricks. That day, she finds a note in her locker, arranging to meet her at 8 o'clock in the evening at the cemetery, claiming to have evidence smearing Max in order to lure her to the gloomy cemetery. The person waiting there is precisely the arrogant and insolent Max. Max not only casually admits that he used benefits to manipulate Becca's family, but also shamelessly throws threats at Pip. Does Ravi like the internship at Cochran Hargreaves and Klein law firm? She cannot do that, can I not? Facing this blatant intimidation, Pip does not back down at all, but curses the villain in front of her terribly. But the price of seeking justice is much heavier than Pip imagined. At the center of this storm, even her truest friendship begins to crack. At a wild party, Pip's best friend Kara gets dead drunk. Kara's father is the real culprit whom Pip personally sent to prison. The pain of losing both family members has caused Kara to completely break down. She uses alcohol to vent all her resentment onto Pip. Just like Ruby, and then you release a damn podcast about it. The accusation of her best friend is like a sharp knife stabbing hard into Pip's heart. After returning home, Pip looks at the podcast listens soaring on the screen and only feels suffocated and miserable. She tremblingly grips the mouse, moving the cursor to the button to delete all episodes. At the exact moment Pip is about to press the confirm button, hurried knocking suddenly rings out outside the door. Her classmate Connor stands at the door with a face full of panic. He pants heavily and brings news that gives people goosebumps. Jamie is missing. Jamie has been missing for nearly 24 hours. Pip instinctively thinks that Jamie might just be spending the night at a friend's house, but Connor desperately tells her that Jamie basically has no friends to sleep over with. Connor begs Pip to help find him, but the dark shadow left from the previous case makes her hesitate to accept. I cannot, not after what happened last time. But when she learns that she is exactly the last person to see Jamie at the memorial service, an ominous premonition instantly surges in her heart. Even more terrifying is that Jamie is a crucial witness to testify against the villain Max, and it is only 2 days until the trial opens. Pip immediately rushes to the police station to report the case, speaking out all her suspicions. But the detective uses the excuse that the missing time is not long enough, and Jamie is an adult to refuse to open a case, even warning her not to contact Max's family during the trial. The official channels cannot be cleared. Pip's inner mind falls into a fierce struggle. Well, if you do nothing and something bad happens to Jamie. This sentence completely defeats Pip's last line of defense. She decides that even if she has to gamble everything, she will personally find Jamie and bring him back. The first step of the investigation is to verify the alibi of the #1 suspect, Max. Pip extracts information from Max's cousin, learning that Max claims on Friday night he was at a golf club. To get the evidence, Pip and Ravi take advantage of his father's membership status to blend into the club. However, wanting to see the security cameras is not easy at all. The bar staff refuses, citing data protection laws, so the two have to risk it. Pip takes responsibility for using a lie about teenagers causing trouble to distract the security guard Stanley, while Ravi stands guard outside the door. Pip rushes into the security room, quickly finding the video at 11:30 that night on the computer. In the footage, Max is indeed at the bar. Right at this moment, trouble occurs on Ravi's side. He is held up by his boss at the law firm, so he basically cannot get away. The security guard Stanley returns to the office and catches Pip red-handed. Pip quick-wittedly turns the tables, using the vulnerability of him leaving his post to threaten him, and the two reach an agreement to keep each other's secrets. Although escaping a disaster, the investigation falls into a dead end. Max has an alibi. The only clue has been cut off. Pip depressedly seeks out Connor, deciding to restart her true crime podcast to gather clues from the entire town. Under pressure, Connor finally reveals another secret. Before going missing, Jamie once tried to steal his mother's credit card and also said he was in dire need of money. I definitely understand. You might not know, but I can find out. This makes the direction of the case become extremely complex and murky. The two sneak into Jamie's room, trying to crack his computer to find more clues. While rummaging, Pip accidentally discovers a bracelet engraved with letters. And Connor finds a crumpled piece of paper in the trash can with a strange name Hillary written on it. Pip just looks it up and immediately feels her scalp go numb. This woman passed away 60 years ago. Late at night, Pip records a new podcast episode announcing all suspicious points to the public. But as soon as the show goes live, she gets retaliated against. Someone triggers her house's car alarm and leaves vicious curses on her missing person flyers. Wait until you go missing. Who will look for you? The doorbell camera of the neighbor Charlie captured a blurry dark shadow, but it cannot be seen clearly who it is. The next day, the podcast brings a new clue. A listener reveals that before going missing, Jamie once argued fiercely with a blonde girl at the memorial service. Pip realizes that girl is exactly Jamie's ex-girlfriend, Nat. At the same time, Max's trial officially begins. The victim, Becca, bravely stands on the witness stand. However, under the sharp interrogation of the defense lawyer, she admits she did not see the killer with her own eyes. The reliability of the testimony drops significantly. Pip seeks out Nat before it is her turn to appear in court. Facing the questioning, Nat and her rich boyfriend Luke initially blurt out a denial, asserting that they basically did not talk to Jamie that night at all. But right when Pip is about to leave, Nat chases after her and confesses everything. It turns out she suspected Jamie started using illegal substances again, so the two had a big fight. During the argument, Jamie seemed to have seen someone, said "I have to go now," then hurriedly left. The clue once again points towards a mysterious third party. Right as Pip prepares to return to the courthouse, the neighbor Charlie calls her back. He tells Pip that he reviewed the older camera footage and discovered an astonishing sight. On the night of the murder mystery party, a dark shadow sneaked into Pip's house through the window. He was only in the house for 40 seconds, did not take any valuable property, but only took away a worthless bracelet. And that bracelet is exactly the one Pip just found in Jamie's room. And the mysterious person who broke into her house turns out to be exactly Jamie. On the day of the trial, Pip just arrives at the courthouse to see her boyfriend waiting for her. To go with her to court, Ravi even lied to the law firm to ask for a leave of absence. Although touched, Pip also voices her worries. She tells Ravi that she has a complete audio recording in her hands in which Max personally admits to the crimes, and this recording also includes evidence of Naomi's crimes. If handing over the entire recording, it will implicate Naomi, but if deleting the related content, the recording might lose its evidentiary value due to being incomplete. Ultimately, Pip does not submit the recording but can only rely on her own testimony, recounting what Becca said for the jury to hear. She said that Max drugged her with sleeping pills and raped her. Her older sister Andy is the one who provided the pills. She exposes the entire process of Max using anesthetics to knock out Becca and commit the assault, even pointing out by name the illegal drug boss Howie as the one providing the drugs. Her testimony is very clear and complete, but the opposing lawyer is also not someone to be trifled with. The opponent does not directly refute the words Max said, but clings to the fact that half a year has passed. Pip's memory might be distorted to doubt the authenticity of Pip's testimony. Facing the provocation, Pip throws out her trump card, "Because I recorded it." She even suggests it can be played right away in court. Max's lawyer immediately voices an objection. The judge uses the reason that the recording has not been submitted as evidence to rule the objection is valid, and simultaneously asks the jury to ignore this statement. Pip's killer move is just like that, easily neutralized. Right after that, the lawyer begins to attack her character. The lawyer clings to Pip's undercover and stalking behaviors during the investigation process. I think this is a story fabricated by a teenage girl with an unhealthy obsession with my client, a classic tale of revenge. The focus of the case has been completely deflected, forcing everyone's entire attention onto the reason why she investigates Max. After the trial concludes, Max arrogantly provokes outside the door, hinting to Pip that he knows the fact that Ravi lied to the law firm. Right at this moment, Connor calls to report an even worse piece of news. Jamie's mother discovered a bloody shirt under the bed. Everyone immediately rushes to Jamie's house. While reviewing a family photo, Pip discovers that on the knife rack, a yellow food chopping knife is missing. Every ominous clue makes the atmosphere become extremely suffocating. Pip analyzes that the bloodstain might belong to someone else and cannot prove it is his own blood. And the life-threatening matter that Connor once mentioned before is very likely related to illegal substances. The clue once again points to Howie, the illegal drug dealer who just got out of prison. Because Pip once personally sent Howie to prison, this contact can only let Connor show his face. Pip and Ravi command from afar through an earpiece. Connor has to recklessly pretend to be a buyer to approach Howie. To avoid being exposed, Connor even took the trouble to look up dozens of drug slang words on the internet beforehand. Connor's forced gangster roleplay makes the two people in the car not know whether to laugh or cry. Howie, of course, sees through his disguise right from the first glance, but he still answers Connor's question. Jamie does not owe him money, and he also has not seen Jamie for a very long time. Just when Connor thinks the mission is completed, Howie discovers the listening device on his body and immediately pins him against the car. Pip hurriedly rushes out of the car to rescue him, explaining that they just want to find their missing brother. Although Howie lets them go, he throws out an astonishing clue. Pip's friend Kara owes him £50 for buying illegal substances. If Kara does not pay the money, he will personally come right to the door. Pip immediately seeks out Kara to confront her. Kara used illegal substances at the wild party on the night Jamie went missing. Pip wants to know where the illegal substances are hidden. The two get into a fierce argument. During the mess, Pip fishes out Jamie's power bank from Kara's jacket. Now, it can be affirmed that on the night Jamie went missing, he actually went to the wild party. But because of being too high on drugs, Kara does not have any impression of this at all. Pip criticizes Kara for wasting precious time, while Kara accuses Pip because wanting to investigate the case, she basically does not care about the life or death of the friends around her, time and again pushing them into dangerous situations. Kara's questioning words are like a knife stabbing into Pip's heart. But Jamie has been missing for more than 72 hours, leaving her no time to stop to digest these emotions. She restarts the podcast program, calling on the whole school to collect image materials of the night the party took place. Very quickly, hundreds of videos and images pour into the mailbox. At the same time, Max's trial also enters its final stage. The crucial witness Jamie, from beginning to end, still does not appear. The prosecution side has finished presenting evidence. Max sits in the defendant's seat, on his face clearly showing a smile of certain victory. Pip knows that the only thing she can do right now is to find the traces of Jamie's actions before going missing from these photo and video clips. After a long time of comparing, they finally piece together Jamie's whereabouts that night. First, he went to the party, gave the power bank to Kara, then feverishly searched for someone in the crowd. Suddenly, some scribbled words on a hand in the frame catch their attention. Pip recognizes this is the handwriting of her friend Ruby. Right after that, they hear Jamie's voice calling on the phone from another video clip, with an extremely panicked tone. Who exactly is he talking to? Pip goes to find Ruby to verify the situation. Ruby recalls that party night Jamie indeed unexpectedly blocked her, but the name he called was not Ruby but Layla, and also said he had followed her all the way from the memorial service. At that time, Ruby only thought Jamie was being silly, scolded a few words, and walked away. Hearing up to here, Pip finally manages to string the clues together. Jamie did not mistake the person at all, but someone had stolen Ruby's photos, creating a fake account named Layla to chat for a long time with Jamie. Pip asserts that this name Layla is exactly the real culprit who kidnapped Jamie. To lure the snake out of the cave, they decide to cast a reverse fishing line. They use Ravi's photo to create a fake dating app account, starting to search for Layla in the surrounding area. After a while of searching for a needle in a haystack, the account stealing Ruby's photos finally appears, less than 1 kilometer away from them. In other words, the person manipulating Jamie is very likely right nearby. Pip uses an anonymous alt account to send greetings to Layla. The process of waiting for a reply is extremely agonizing. At this time, Max's cousin Robin also arrives at Pip's house. Pip sharply discovers his behavior is very strange. It turns out Max thought Pip did not back up the recording, so he sent him to destroy the evidence. After a struggle, everyone kicks Robin out of the house. Right at that moment, Pip's phone lights up. On the screen displays the text Layla is typing. Everyone immediately goes silent. However, the message appearing on the screen makes everyone's hair stand on end. Seeing only written on it, "Hello, Pip." Right after that, a location message pops up. The location is exactly the cemetery area behind the church. They immediately shine flashlights to go over there. While they are thinking this is a cruel prank by Layla, a few people discover a note on a tombstone. Written on it is "Count to the left, to the 11th one." Pip lowers her voice, counting to the left side, finally stopping in front of a bouquet of fresh flowers. Tucked in the bouquet is a pink card. Written on it is a messy string of codes. But Connor glances over and recognizes an anomaly. This is the reverse spelling method that Jamie has liked to use since childhood. Translated, it is "Jamie loves Layla." Under the bouquet, it also presses on 900 pounds. This proves Jamie really has been here. He brought all his belongings to come to the meeting, but that person calling herself Layla basically did not appear to take the money. Just when all 3 people are stuck, a blinding beam of light suddenly sweeps across. That person is precisely the staff member of the golf club, Stanley. This normally subservient man, at this moment, has a face full of guilt. It turns out the camera footage that Pip looked up before basically was not the surveillance video of that night. But Max forced Stanley to repeatedly play camera footage from several months ago, editing the surveillance date, fabricating an alibi. In other words, on the day Jamie went missing, Max's true whereabouts were fundamentally known by no one. So why did Max have to lie? Max at this time is facing something that terrifies him even more than going to court. While cleaning the room, his mother found the drug he used to knock out the girls. Up until this moment, she truly sees clearly what kind of person her son really is. Facing his mother's angry accusations, Max is still trying to make excuses, even blaming the root of his crimes on the family environment. That is wrong. I failed because you are even worse, Max. You are my most terrifying nightmare. The desperate mother curses him as a coward, while bluntly declaring that she absolutely will not go to court to give false testimony for him. Max just a second ago was arrogant and insolent, now immediately seems drained of strength, helplessly sitting flat on the stairs. As for Pip, she takes the new clue and goes straight to find the police officer Dan. Because someone once witnessed that on the night Jamie went missing, he stepped down from Dan's police car. Furthermore, on the car seat, Jamie's bloodstain still lingered. Before Pip's questioning, Dan confesses everything. The blood on the car is also not Jamie's, but his own. It turns out among the girls Max has harmed, there is also Dan's younger sister Nat. Max used this as bait, forcing Dan to use his police identity to threaten Jamie, making him withdraw from the trial. Dan does not want his younger sister to once again be entangled in scandal, so he has to comply. But in the car, Jamie did not obediently comply. He delivered a really hard punch to Dan. The bloodstain on the car also remained precisely because of this. This time, Pip has clearly understood everything. From beginning to end, Max always manipulates witnesses. She absolutely cannot let Max continue to be at large outside the law. To pry Max's mouth open, Pip teams up with Dan to set a trap. On the way taking Max to court, Dan directly drives the police car into an abandoned warehouse area. Facing Pip's strict interrogation, Max basically does not admit the things he has done. But before Pip's pressing questions, he tells his whereabouts late Friday night. That day, he went to the train station to buy illegal substances, and at 12 o'clock he saw Jamie wearing a black hoodie, trudging alone on Weaver Road. Pip just hears this and immediately spots an anomaly, because before going missing, clearly Jamie was wearing a wine red shirt. "We must go! Let's get him to court on time!" Take him away. The interrogation does not obtain decisive evidence. To prevent the matter from being exposed, Dan has to continue taking Max to court. But Max's words still make Pip grow suspicious. After returning to Jamie's house, Pip and Connor decide to look for answers from Jamie's computer. Jamie since childhood has had a habit of reverse thinking. Pip suddenly has a flash of insight, remembering a song that Jamie once wrote. She tries typing the name of this song backwards. Unexpectedly, it actually unlocks the computer password. But when the web browser history is opened, everyone's heart seems to sink. 3 days before going missing, Jamie continuously searched for deadly issues like brain tumor, brain cancer. Jamie's mother breaks down on the spot, trying hard to deny the fact that her son has a terminal illness. Pip opens Jamie's smartwatch data again. The chart on the screen clearly records the traces of Jamie's activities that night. After midnight, his step count surged abruptly. Combined with the time and location Max mentioned, if Jamie actually returned home to change into a black hoodie, then the timeline perfectly matches. But when Pip switches to the heart rate monitoring interface, the whole room instantly falls into a dead silence. The heart rate chart on the screen shows that Jamie's heart rate once beat very violently late at night. Then, at a certain point in time, it suddenly turns into a flat line of death. This means that Jamie's heart very likely stopped beating at that exact moment. The hope for Jamie's survival is dwindling little by little. At the same time, in court, Max is still performing his shameless act. To exonerate himself, he dares to shift all the blame for assaulting the girls onto Sal, who died a long time ago. Listening to those extremely hypocritical defenses, Ravi finally cannot endure it anymore. He angrily slams the door and leaves. Outside the court, Pip also gradually sketches out a portrait of Layla. She seeks out teacher Clark, who also once chatted with Layla. Through comparing, the chat subject Pip discovers that Layla's target is not randomly chosen at all. His hunting subject is extremely clear. 29 years old, white with brown hair, even the appearance is quite similar. Furthermore, the reason Layla often uses to gain sympathy is precisely the fact that he himself has a brain tumor. This perfectly explains why Jamie went looking for information about brain tumors. Pip bases on more than 1,800 final steps recorded on Jamie's watch, combined with the starting point on Weaver Road provided by Max. She outlines a high-probability search area. That area is exactly the abandoned ruins that used to be the place holding countless wild parties. Pip mobilizes all students in the school to help search, even using a life-or-death reason to forcefully persuade the owner of a private farm to let them pass. A large group of people deploys a wide-scale search. Along with the passing of time, in the distance suddenly rings out a frantic scream. Pip's heart tightens. She immediately rushes straight towards where the sound comes from. In the garbage pile next to the abandoned building, she finds the lost food chopping knife. Late at night, Pip and Ravi arrive outside that abandoned manor. On the door hangs a completely new lock, making the two even more convinced that inside is definitely hiding something. Right as they prepare to cut the fence, Connor unexpectedly appears. After a while of discussion, all three decide to act together. They pry the door open and step into this gloomy building. Not walking for long, they discover a box in a corner. Inside is an empty bag for illegal substances and a mobile phone. Clearly, this is not a normal abandoned house, but someone has taken it as a transaction location. And the fact that Jamie urgently needed 900 pounds before going missing is very likely precisely to come here to meet someone. The few people immediately hide into the darkness. Very quickly, a man appears upstairs, conducting a transaction with the illegal drug dealer Howie. From their conversation, Pip gradually realizes this guy Howie actually owes the other party 900 pounds. And this amount of money is exactly the money Jamie borrowed right before going missing. Seeing the transaction has ended, the other man prepares to leave. Pip cannot wait any longer. She leads her group of friends charging out. As soon as the other party sees he is exposed, he turns around and runs away. A breathtaking car chase, just like that, takes place. Pip steps hard on the gas pedal, tailing the car in front. After a few times nearly losing control, ultimately still loses track of the target. Ravi, after composing himself, criticizes her for being too hasty and reckless, almost killing a whole car of people. Connor, you listen here. I saw the car. It is a white BMW. And Nat's new boyfriend Luke indeed drives a white BMW. The person who just escaped from the abandoned manor earlier is very likely exactly Luke. Right when Pip is preparing to investigate Luke, she receives a phone call that completely devastates her. Listen, I just received the verdict, and I am not guilty on all charges. The continuous blows have made Pip completely lose control. The next day at school, she sees Max's friends scribble vicious words on her locker and also blatantly provoke her. Old grudges and new hatreds rush in. Pip charges up and tightly chokes the other's neck until being forcefully pulled away by a teacher. She gets suspended for 3 days because of this, and also gets into a big argument with her parents. She desperately screams that the truth basically does not matter anymore. She locks herself in her room, refusing to communicate with anyone, even with Ravi, the person always by her side. "Please talk to me. Why do you want to be alone?" Fine then. However, God seems to still feel she is not miserable enough. The television news reports police have discovered a young male body in the woods next to the highway, with age characteristics extremely matching the missing Jamie. Luckily, fate has given her a sliver of opportunity to breathe a sigh of relief. It is not Jamie. "I went to identify the body this morning and it is not Jamie's." This news immediately pulls Pip back from the edge of the abyss of breakdown, letting her know that they still have not lost. The next day they go straight to meet Luke. Pip takes out £900 to exchange, forcing Luke to say what exactly happened that night. Luke finally opens his mouth. He admits that night he indeed met Jamie, but everything is even more bizarre than what they thought. It turns out Jamie has always been active online, using a female identity named Layla. On the night he went missing, it was exactly Jamie posing as Layla to arrange a meeting with Luke. After meeting, Jamie only said to him a confusing sentence, "Little Brunswick is sick," and then ran away. Luke thought he was being pranked, so he chased for a distance but could not catch up. And that £900 is also precisely the money Jamie stole from his place. Pip astutely realizes Luke might have misheard. Perhaps what Jamie said was not Little Brown, but Little Brunswick. This name reminds her of a documentary about a serial killer, Brunswick, a devil who once caused many child murders more than 10 years ago, and his son, Little Brunswick, once helped him lure victims. After the case closed, Little Brunswick was hidden by the Witness Protection Program. If he is still alive, his current age is exactly 29 years old. This perfectly matches the target characteristics that Layla aimed for. Pip finally understands. Layla is not just randomly flirting online, he is always looking for Little Brunswick, the person who has been renamed and hidden away. And Jamie is very likely precisely the pawn Layla uses to approach the target. He used a fake identity to contact Luke, but discovered Luke was not the target. So, the next person that Jamie went to meet that night is very likely exactly the real Little Brunswick. To find this hiding devil, they begin frantically searching for clues online. Finally, in an inconspicuous forum post, they see the crucial information. Someone claims that Little Brunswick is living right in their town, and an illegal drug dealer named Howie knows his true identity. Howie is precisely the man who transacted with Luke earlier. The clues at this moment have formed a perfect closed loop. Pip looks at the documents covering the wall. Her gaze becomes extremely determined. She knows she has found the key to decode all the mysteries. "I know him. I know who Little Brunswick is." Pip locks the target onto Stanley. This 29-year-old man not only reacts slowly to his name, but is also caught by Pip trading secretly with Howie. All these things make him perfectly fit the characteristics of Little Brunswick. Pip deduces, the fact that Stanley faked the security camera to help Max perhaps is not only for Max's benefit, because the last person that Jamie needed to meet before going missing is very likely exactly him. This time, Pip does not intend to wait for the police anymore. She wants to use her own way to expose the truth. The method is very simple. Pip poses as Layla to lure Stanley out of the house. Ravi and Connor break into his house to find Jamie's whereabouts. Ravi is worried Pip, dealing with Stanley alone, will be too dangerous, so he suggests calling Kara to lend a hand. Just like that, Pip seeks out the friend who was hurt because of her. Although between the two, there are still entanglements, but wanting to find the truth, Kara still chooses to join. Night falls. The action begins. Connor and Ravi hide near Stanley's house. Pip picks up the mobile phone, using Layla's identity to send out a message. Not long after, Stanley leaves the house and walks quickly towards the manor. Worried for Jamie, Connor ignores the arrangement and runs straight to Stanley's house. The two arrive at the door, only to discover the front door and back door have both been locked tight, fundamentally unable to go inside. Seeing Stanley is about to arrive at the meeting place, yet they cannot even find the spare key. In an emergency, Ravi picks up a rock and directly smashes the glass on the door. Hearing the sound from the walkie-talkie, the heavy rock pressing in Pip's heart is somewhat loosened. To buy time for Ravi and Connor, she decides to personally get out of the car to hold him back. Not long after, she bumps into Stanley in the manor. His eyes are filled with fear, mistaking Pip for Layla. Pip confesses she is not Layla, but just wants to find Jamie. However, the words that Stanley speaks next cause the entire event to have a shocking reversal. It turns out he is actually the victim. Last Friday, it was exactly Layla who arranged for him to meet at this place, but the person who appeared was Jamie. Jamie immediately attacked him frantically upon seeing him, his mouth screaming, wanting to kill him. During the intense scuffle, Stanley, because of self-defense, knocked Jamie unconscious. Fearful of his Little Brunswick identity being exposed, he did not dare to report to the police, but just had to lock Jamie in his own house. Right at this moment, in the earpiece suddenly rings Ravi's voice. They have found Jamie. The joy of finding the lost person dispels all fears, but everything is still not over. Stanley firmly insists that before finding the real Layla, he cannot let Jamie go, because he cannot be sure whether Jamie will still pose a danger to him or not, and Jamie also surprisingly agrees to this matter. He begs Connor to leave first, and guarantees that he is fine. Right as Pip is trying to persuade Stanley to cooperate, Kara, sitting in the car worried for Pip's safety, also goes into the house. She just steps inside. The house door suddenly rings with footsteps. The person walking in is precisely Charlie, and in his hands he is gripping a gun tightly. "Are you Layla?" "That is right, I am Layla." It turns out everything is a meticulously arranged revenge by Charlie. The photo called niece on his desk is actually his twin sister Emily. 19 years ago, Stanley, who was still little at that time, was forced by his father to trick Emily, causing the little girl to be brutally murdered. The passing of his sister makes Charlie live in a nightmare every day. Over these years, he has always constantly searched for Little Brunswick. And Pip's investigation inadvertently helped him lock down the final target. The truth is exposed. Charlie raises his gun. Taking advantage of his carelessness, Pip uses her phone to call the police. The scene immediately becomes extremely chaotic. In the final confrontation, Pip stands blocking in front of Stanley, earnestly begging Charlie, telling him that Stanley at that time was also just an innocent child. A flash of wavering flashes through Charlie's eyes. Just as Pip thinks the persuasion has taken effect, "No, I have absolutely no regrets." Charlie does not hesitate at all and pulls the trigger. Stanley collapses. Fresh blood immediately dyes his shirt flap red. Charlie's wife Flora, to cover up the crime, actually dares to light a fire to burn the house. Flames rise high into the sky, police sirens wail, but everything is already too late. Stanley's breath becomes weaker and weaker. In the final moment of his life, Stanley tells Pip that his real name is Jack, but he still likes this silly name Stanley the most. The medical team arrives and pronounces Stanley dead on the spot. At this point, when everything has settled down, Pip falls back into an extreme sense of guilt. She returns to her family and friends, but that fire, the resounding gunshot, along with Stanley's voice before death, still repeatedly echo in her mind. 2 weeks later, at Stanley's funeral, an extremely malicious graffiti appears on the wall. "Child killer, go to hell." Seeing those words, Pip cannot force herself any longer. She completely loses control of her emotions on the spot. Later, at a friend's birthday party, everyone around is celebrating, while Pip, sitting in the crowd, only feels like she is separated from everyone through a pane of glass. She apologizes to Kara. She feels that she herself has ruined the lives of everyone. Kara hugs her and tells her that she is not a destroyer. She is family, is someone who can continue living with Kara. This sentence brings Pip a little bit of warmth. Returning home, Pip looks at the wide-open window frame along with the computer that is still on, seeming to imply that the investigation of this murder case will continue to stretch out on her in another way. Alright then, today the episode ends here, and this is just my objective analysis and evaluation of the episode. To support the film crew and fully enjoy every moment completely, please go to the theaters or watch on official platforms. Thank you guys for watching, and see you again in the next movie analysis and evaluation. Bye-bye.